Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, on behalf of IATEFL YLTSIG, we have the pleasure of speaking with Teresa Bestwick and Fiona Mauchline, authors of the insightful book, Teaching Teenagers Unlocking Potential in the Young Adult Classroom. Teresa and Fiona are both experienced educators who have dedicated their careers to understanding and enhancing the learning experiences of their students. So we're also delighted to be accompanied by Deborah Asereni, reviewer of this magnificent work, and personally, an esteemed colleague of mine from National University of José Cepaz here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where we are based. Deborah and I are both based in Argentina. So, welcome, ladies, and thank you very much for being here. So, if you want to start, Teresa or Fiona, tell us a little bit about your experience as teachers and where you are currently based.
Fiona, do you want to go ahead?
I don't know, you start.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm based in Spain. I've been in Spain since 2004. And actually, I've only really taught in two places. I was in Osuna for 2 years, and then at the end of my time there, my bosses recommended a young learner course to me. So I spent a couple of weeks in Seville working with Fiona as one of my tutors, and then I moved down to the south to San Fernando, and I'm a teacher trainer, materials writer, jack of all trades, as they say.
Yeah, and my story is a bit longer. I'm older. Yeah, and I've been teaching for, I don't know, 30-something years now. And I started in the UK as a French teacher many years ago, having said I would be anything in my life except a teacher or a secretary. I taught French, and then I moved to Spain. And I was in Spain for 29 years, and I was one of the tutors who trained Teresa, which is how we ended up working together on the book, because we kept in touch, and I knew her thinking, and she was one of the best trainees we had. So, but I've been back in the UK. I did Brento rather than Brexit. I've been back here since 2016, and I'm at Oxford, the University of Oxford. So I live in Oxford. And I teach and I train, well, I lecture and I teach and I train teachers, and I write books, basically. That's what I do. And I never stop, and I love it. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, my students right now, they're all older teens. So I was teaching in university in Spain where they tended to be a little bit older. I'm not quite sure why, but they're here. They could be like 17, 18, 19.
Yeah. So before we get down into the review, which Deborah puts together magnificently, every time I meet authors, I'm very curious about the drive that you probably had. What motivated you to write this book, to write Teaching Teenagers, Unlocking Potentials?
Can I answer that one? The truth is, what drove us is the publisher. I've been focusing on secondary for the last, 20, 25 years. Got really into motivation of teenagers because I was a really, really unmotivated teenager myself back in the mists of time. And then had some remedial students when I worked in the Canaries and started thinking about it then. And so I've been giving talks and writing courses for secondary for quite a long time. And then I wrote a course for Delta or CLET, which is essentially the same, just before the pandemic, really. And so CLET, Delta came to me. I've lost track of time. Maybe it must be more than a year ago now, about 18 months ago, and asked me if I'd be interested in writing it. And basically I said yes, because I've been wanting to write down my ideas for a long time, because I say it's about 20-something years worth of giving talks and training courses, training teachers to work in secondary. So yeah, the book was like the next logical thing. I've also done a lot of research into neuroscience, cognitive development, especially since I've been here in Oxford, because I've got access to a lot more, research and resources and stuff, and libraries where they've put me today to talk to you, which is nice. And then, yeah, so they said, would I be interested in doing it? And I said, yeah. And then they said, well, is there anybody you would like to write with? And I said, yes, there is. And I asked that person if they would be interested. And they said, yes, they would. And they're sitting here.
So then the team was made up.
Yeah, I mean, they came to me and then I chose Teresa because I knew that we were on a similar kind of wavelength and personality as well. Because when you're writing with somebody, you want to either to be very different so that you complement, or you want to be similar enough to kind of almost develop like a silent code where you know what each other's thinking, or you can, yeah.
And I guess you need to work together and in a way agree on many, many, many things. As regards your experience as teacher as well, as you said, Fiona, you've worked for many, many years. Teresa, you are one of the best trainees.
But I'm one of the oldest, yeah.
But in terms of the activities you've thought of, which were based for sure on your experience, is there anyone which you've chosen as your favorite one? Have you been able to put these activities into practice?
Let Teresa answer first.
I mean, I'd say that all of the activities that we've included in the book are tried and tested by us. So they know that they've worked with our students. So personally, one of my favorites is definitely Maybe. And it's an activity where you say, okay, Romina, in a minute, you're going to tell us about your hobbies. But before Romina starts talking, everyone else has to predict 5 words they think she's definitely going to say and 5 words they think she's maybe going to say. And then, so there's that time for prediction, which is also really useful for Romina because it gives her that thinking time to start planning what she's going to say, which I think is really important with our teens because it helps to build their confidence if they've got a little bit of planning time. And then whilst everyone's listening to Romina, they're ticking the words that they hear, which again, really useful for teenagers who often don't listen to each other. So this gives them a really clear purpose for listening. And then when Romina finishes, they add up their score. So they get 2 points for every word in the definitely column and 1 tick for every word in the maybe column. So that I will, if anybody ever asks me what my favorite ELT activity is, it's that one.
Yeah. It's a perfect combination of both games, thinking time, making them produce, and getting to know each other. So lovely.
Yeah, and the active role of the student. And I was thinking something that Fiona mentioned, that when she was asked to write this book, she said, I mean, she agreed to it immediately because she wanted to give her perspective also as a learner, because I also remember the time when I was a teenager, and I think this is like a critical age. There are many sort of social, emotional factors involved, and so thinking to write about a book that is going to be dedicated to teenagers and to teachers of teenagers, I think it's really significant, important, and relevant. And I have already read the review. And so I know there's lots of, juicy stuff in there that I know the teachers are going to buy out and start implementing in their own classrooms. Yeah. So I just underlined a couple of comments that Deborah made. So one that I loved, and then probably Deborah is going to take it a quote. To get you talking about a quote. But before that, I want to share something that Deborah has written. She says that this book not only equips teachers with the tools they need, but also inspires them to create a more engaging and supportive learning environment. So how does that
That
sound?
was nice. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
that's
important, though. I mean, sorry, am I interrupting you? I can't
no,
tell.
go ahead.
No, just because, you know, when I was that age, I was so demotivated. And then when I had these students, I literally sat down and thought, what was it that happened in the classroom that teachers did or that other students did, or what was it that made me feel so disconnected from my studies? And literally right until my final year at university, or my third year, I did a 4-year course, so third year at university, I just felt like I had no connection with what I was studying the whole way through. So I sat down and thought about it. And then that and kind of went, okay, so that means then the opposite would have motivated me theoretically. And I started trying to teach my students the way that I felt that I might have been motivated. And that's where my kind of research started. And then when it started to work, and I could see that it was actually helping my students learn, but not just learn, but believe that they could learn, which was the key thing. It was going from the I can't do this to yes, I can. I used to call it the Obama methodology because of Barack Obama's thing. But yeah, it was in a sense, I kind of had to inspire myself, if that makes sense, or me trying to inspire a younger me and then feed it in there. So to hear you say that it's inspiring people is really good. It's, yeah, I mean, that's essentially what we've been trying to do. And all the years of learning and as you said before about the classes, which ones, you know, as Teresa said, every single one has been done in class. You know, I've taught today, I'm teaching tomorrow, I spent the whole last week, I've done just about everything I did last week was in that book, and if not, it'll be in the next one because I'm still trying new stuff. So nothing in there is something taken from the air and just slapped to fill a page. It's all stuff that we know works. And with our students, yeah, I mean, I talk in Spain, but I also work a lot with Central and Eastern Europeans. I work with, at the moment, I've got Japanese. Last month it was Taiwanese, you know, Hong Kong. It's pretty global, Argentinian as well. The difference isn't the students, it's the teacher. So if the teacher's the one that is willing to take things on board and be inspired, whatever, and take a risk and step outside the comfort zone, they can work. I honestly believe it's not the students that makes the difference to whether the things work or not, it's the teacher. So
that's really interesting. I think it's like an extra point to take different cultures into account, whether you had them in mind or not. It was like almost natural because that was my sensation. The learner is at the center, and the learner is any learner, bearing in mind that we are all mainly motivated by the same things at that age. You talked about neuroscience and how the brain develops, and bearing that in mind, there is a kind of general rule around the world. You know what things are going to work a bit better. And which is your favorite, Fiona?
My favorite activity. When you was answering, I was thinking, I don't want to answer this because it's too difficult.
Sorry
my
about
babies. How do you choose your favorite child? I don't know. I like the visualization ones, all of them, and those are the ones that I use in class a lot, and I know they really work. But recently, possibly because I'm working with the groups that I'm working with, basically, the student as teacher ones, the ones where they go off and they research something, but quickly they have 10 minutes to research something and then teach it, or present it as a 3 truths and a lie, or any of those sort of things. I say, you know, kind of for the last 10, 20 years, I would say the visualization right now, the students as teachers, because it gives them a bit more self-confidence as well as the language. Spanish students, for example, tend to be a little bit more outgoing than my Japanese students. So the Spanish ones, it's the visualization, because they're the ones that would be going, I have no imagination or whatever. And so you help them find their imagination and thereby motivate them, because they realize they've got ideas and they've got stuff to say, and they're getting the tools from you to know how to say it. And that is really motivating for them, and their grades increase. And so, and whereas with my sort of the Chinese, Hong Kong, Taiwanese, Japanese, it's the sort of presentation aspect that they have to do when they're doing their students as teacher activities. That's where they learn to be a little bit more outgoing, because they're not, generally speaking, not quite so accustomed to being asked their opinion or expressing stuff. That's a slightly it's cultural, though. It's just a slightly different cultural environment. They do chat, they chat to each other more, but yeah.
I personally loved that activity.
Yeah.
Visualization was great because I tested it and it worked beautifully in many different levels. This idea of
try it with the music. And the one with
it worked.
Yeah, the smells one works incredibly well as well, and it doesn't need any preparation, which is brilliant. You don't need anything. You just need to think of a word and say, imagine the smell of a swimming pool or whatever.
And there is an element of meditation there as well, because close your eyes, imagine, and while they are imagining, they are in silence. So that's a double.
It is. But I had an interesting experience just this last week with a Hungarian student, and I asked them at the end, the last question is always, and how do you feel? And one student, and this is the first time it's ever happened, but I thought, she said she felt anxious. And that was because I can't remember what she said. She'd visualized something that made her nervous, like a crab on the beach or something. I forget what it was, but she felt anxious. And I thought, okay, that's a learning moment for me as well. I need to be careful about, I don't know, asking them to imagine
timing.
What they've, because it was a night on the beach that we did. So it was the thing about at night. And so she was a little bit nervous. So that made me think I need to slightly modify that one and make it, I don't know, late afternoon on the beach or something instead. But still learning.
So I know you don't want to we don't want to spoil the book, but it's very interesting that you divide it into sections. And so I read a bit about it, sections A, B, C. So if you, Teresa, would like to tell us a little bit about what each section contains.
Fantastic. Well, section A is very much Fiona's section. It's all what she was talking about before with the brain. So she can explain that in a bit more detail. One thing I will say is it's really wonderful to read that section with Fiona's voice. I think, with her saying it's a lot of about how she learned and her experiences, and then she talks as well about teaching moments with her son as well, and you feel really connected to the writer, and you can really imagine those situations. So that's section A. And then section B, which we wrote collaboratively, is all of the practical ideas. I think there's over 100 that are divided into 7 different sections, with kind of social activities, reflective activities, activities to help students develop their learning skills as well, plus some other sections. And then in section C, which I wrote mainly, we first look at some typical challenges for teachers of teenagers, and then some reflective activities for teachers to do as well.
Is there any section, well, you've written section C mainly. Is that your favorite one?
I mean, for me personally, section B. I'm a very practical sort of person. So if I was a teacher, I would automatically go to section B first in the book to kind of flip through, and because I would probably be looking for something that I could use quite immediately. With section C, so with the challenges, the typical challenges that we've both experienced. And obviously it's, you know, we've tried to give advice for how teachers could deal with those challenges. And similarly to course books, it's not a kind of one size fits all. But I think even if the advice doesn't necessarily work for teachers who are having that problem, just the simple fact that they know that they're not alone. You know, these are typical challenges, the typical problems that lots of teenage teachers face, lots of teachers of teens face. And I think that can sometimes, it can be quite challenging as a teacher of teenagers, because it can feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to reach them. So yeah, I'd say section C, I like the challenges. I think it gives some good tips for the teachers.
Yeah.
Fiona, you are in charge of section A.
Yeah.
Is there
but I'd
anything
say
you
the
would add
same
to
as
that?
I'd say the same as Teresa though. Section B is the real treasure chest. You know, it's like, you know, the sandwich, the interesting bit's the bit in the middle, isn't it? You need the bread to keep it together, but the interesting bit's in the middle. I mean, yeah, the section A is, it's difficult to say a favourite section. The three sections are different. You'd read them at different moments, perhaps. I think sections A and C, you would sit down in an afternoon and read them and enjoy them. And section B is the one that you would go back to again and again and again. And, you know, dig in and try that. We're going to try that. We're going to try that, try that. So, no, I agree with Teresa. Obviously I like section A. That's what my research is. That's what I love doing. But I also love the challenges and the reflection bit at the end. And because we took the whole lot through, I mean, we carved up who wrote what based on who knew a little bit more about what, but it was just an easier way of organizing the writing. The book, I mean, Teresa said the first bit's my voice. I wouldn't read, I mean, a couple of bits, yeah. That's just because I tend to think in analogies. So things like the wooden spoons and the car driving and stuff.
Now we're moving towards
all right, no,
the
so
spoon.
I just think of the whole book as being our book. I don't really think of it as being, you know, the bit that I wrote, the bit that Teresa wrote, and the bit that we wrote together. It's just, it's us. The whole thing's us.
I was just
You know,
going to mention that this is something like we are learning because we are just behind the scenes. It's like we are in the kitchen of the book and how it came to be. So I was going to actually now ask Deborah if she had noticed, because she probably didn't. And this is the point, that you don't notice when a work is being written by more than one writer, whether you detect the different voices. If you detect the different voices, I don't think that's what publishers want, because actually they want to have like just one voice behind every line, every chapter, every passage. So this is, I mean, my question now is actually for you, Deborah. Did you?
Thank you. And actually, very nice question. I haven't realized it was written by two. I mean, it was so coherent, so cohesive. And the language was the language we teachers are used to listening to. I was thinking while reading which activities were made by whom in the sense of in real classrooms. I tried to imagine you like doing them, but I felt you were writing together at the same time, like, okay, writing evening, writing weekend, and you were exchanging ideas and like collaboratively, as it is. I know you have shared, I imagine I have
I mean,
shared.
we discussed everything before we wrote it down. Basically, we discussed it, took notes, and then kind of went off into our corners and wrote up the bits that we'd agreed to. You know, I'll do this, you do that, whatever it is. But we did sit and discuss it.
And kind of
Obviously,
send each other useful links
exactly, yeah.
that,
There was a lot
might
of
feed into each other's bits, yeah.
yeah.
And,
So
and
it's not two people who sat separately and then the publisher stuck it together. It's all. But say that's why I knew I could work with T, because I knew we were kind of on the same wavelength. So when they
Wavelength.
asked me who I wanted to, I wanted to work with somebody that I could do that with. And
And
that
it
we
showed.
would.
It showed.
This is it. And you need somebody that the way you communicate, you don't need to explain everything to each other. You can just, you're sort of so in tune with each other.
Yes.
You know what the other one means or is thinking or whatever.
It showed, because you can see one masterpiece altogether, not just different sections written by different authors. And actually, we were thinking of some of the metaphors you used, which I don't know if you agreed on them, or it was one who has used it for a long time and then shared with the other. But you've written something like, although we can't count on a silver bullet, as teachers, we do have wooden spoons, essentials in our teacher's skills kit that we can adapt to fit our purposes. A wooden spoon can stir without causing damage, but it can also become a puppet. Stop a pot from boiling over, keep a door open, beat time to the music, draw a line in the sand, plug a hole, and be bitten on to help us bear the pain. I love the metaphor. So, how did you agree on it, or who brought it?
This was one of Fiona's metaphors, but when Romy asked me about it, one thing that I remember when Fiona did a session in the community that I run, she talked about using the porridge. I can't remember what it's called, but like there's this special spoon, the spurtle.
A lot, exactly, but we had to
And
change
so,
the spoon.
yeah, so I don't know whether it kind of came from that, you know,
Probably.
thinking about the things in our everyday life.
It's
Probably.
amazing because
It's kind of the way I write anyway, to be honest. It started with the silver bullet, obviously, and a silver bullet's not much of a solution to anything, is it? So, you know, in real terms. So yeah, it probably did subconsciously come from the spiritual, because I use that a lot in class. And then it was wooden spoon. Okay, what's not a silver bullet? What's more useful than a silver bullet? Wooden spoon, and then say it's the kind of thing you use in the classroom anyway. So yeah, that was it. It was me, but it was just my kind of the way my mind meanders around. That's just the way. That's the way it goes. And Teresa's patient enough to let it wander.
but it's lovely. And actually, the material you've chosen, it's like wood bullet is made of metal, and the spoon is made of wood. That's a lovely thing, because as the material itself goes, it's like a noble material. And it has to do with teaching, with not hurting the surface of the pan, for example, or not hurting what you are staring. And I feel that was mainly related. That's the way in which I've read it.
Yeah.
You were taking care of your students mentally, sensitively as well. And well, with the spoon
Can I
in
just say
mind,
one thing,
it was
though?
easier.
Sorry, it's just that we've forgotten to mention somebody, or two somebodies really. Yeah, we've written all this, but key members of the team, also Sandy Millin, who she's the series consultant, but she was the kind of the one who read the manuscript basically and said yes and no. And then Kate Barder, who's the lady at Delta. So anything that's on the page is also there because they allowed it to be, you know, that's like, I said, Teresa, let my mind wander, but also Sandy decided that it could stay, and Kate did. They're very much, when you write a book, it's not just the names on the front, it's the names inside the cover as well, you know, so.
It's all the
So just slip that in.
that surrounds the book. And I was thinking, I mean, has it ever happened, or when the book was out there, when you just finished the manuscript, did you realize that maybe you've written something that was already written in you? So this is something, I mean, I don't know if this is clear, but you were asked to write a book. So you probably said, okay, well, I have to start planning what I'm going to write about. And the minute that is there, that is out there, and yet you see it on a page, at least this is what happens to me every time I have to write about something. I realize that there are stories, you know, narratives that are like captured within each of us. And so it's like the book is like we release them, you know, through our words, through our lines, they are released. So you reminded me, Fiona, when you said, well, maybe I have to just rewrite something that I have written. So it's like, you know, cyclical. I mean, there are, no? Has it happened to you that you said, okay, look at it, all I had to say, yeah, I don't know, 100 pages were inside me. They are there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How about you, Teresa?
I mean, I remember at first feeling quite daunted, because it's a book. I've written a book. We've written a book. And so at first you do kind of think, how am I going to fill the pages? And then when we actually started putting ideas on paper, just kind of, you know, well, what could we talk about in the self section and what could we talk about, those practical ideas, we really had to whittle it down.
Yeah, we
overwrote. We had too many ideas.
We did. Didn't we have about 135 ideas or something, and it had to get cut down just to fit the pages in there. Yeah.
Volume 1, volume 2.
I know. Well, there's some of them I think have got not merged exactly, but there's like version A, version B of a couple of things. But yeah, maybe we should double check, see, but we did. It was, I mean, section A I found very easy to write. I think that had probably been already ticking around the back of my head for a while.
How long did it?
Sorry.
How long did it take, all in all, to write the book? Because you said that 18 months ago you were suggested, but all in all, in taking into account how much real time you devoted to it, how much do you think it took?
When did we finish writing? Was it January, December, January, wasn't it?
Early January, yeah. And we started kind of the January before. So 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah, we started in earnest though nearer IATEFL, wasn't it? I think because it was sort of more planning stages, the early stages.
We definitely had a few meetings around June. It was kind of proper, right, let's get all the ideas and...
Yeah, exactly.
And which step have you enjoyed the most, if I may ask? I mean, when you were writing the manuscript, when you were editing, is there a moment that just...
Choosing the cover, that was June. We chose the cover last summer, didn't we? That was fun.
I'm going to show the cover.
That's when it started to feel real, I think, for me.
It might not.
I don't know about you, T, but that's when, Teresa, that's when it started to feel like real for me, was when we were choosing the cover and they gave us the title, Teaching Teenagers, but we wrote the sort of subtitle thing. And I think for me, that's when it was in my head, it was going from just something that we're writing to this is going to be a book. Yeah.
Which is full of doors. Doors like...
We were lucky, we got to choose. You don't usually get to choose the cover, but we did.
Well, you probably more or less answered this question. Was it easy for you to stop and say, okay, this is it? Because, you know, when you're writing, there's a moment when I know that we can't stop and we know we have to. and it's done and it's there and we have to sort of stop editing, stop it, it's there, it's going to be out there. So was that moment kind of difficult or tricky for you?
I think the editing process was difficult because we had overwritten.
Yeah.
And that choosing what to take out, because obviously when you put things in, you put them in because you want them there. So that was tricky. And then sometimes as well in the process of editing and trying to remove things, something else would come into your brain. It was like, well, I really want to put this in. Something else has got to go.
This is where Stanley is very useful because we did occasionally just go, oh, we don't know, let's just let Sandy cut it. We can.
So you went
Yeah.
through the Da Vinci moment. You know that Da Vinci believed that works of art are never finished. They are just abandoned.
Yes, no, I say book 2. There
Book
could be well
2.
be a book 2. Yeah.
So we will be waiting for it. No, wait, now enjoy the first one.
Yeah.
Take the moment to enjoy yourselves, to embrace yourself and say, well, we did it. There's going to be time for more. I think if you allow me and allow us, we're going to use it at the Teachers Training College. The idea is to spread the word and to
Fair
ask
enough.
for people to buy it, actually. That's
So you
something
did
that
enjoy it?
we need to support.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You did enjoy it? You do like it, do you?
I love
Loved
it.
it.
It
Oh,
was
good.
like, okay, I started like, okay, I'm going to write a review. And then it was like, oh, this is great. This is really, really good to have at hand. And I started implementing 1 or 2 ideas and they worked beautifully. And I was always thinking of this idea of having the learner in mind, which is not just a book from, let's say, native speakers to the rest of the world. It was a book which I felt was for us as well. Like we can use it, we can really use it.
Yeah, yeah. And I
I
remember
don't know if
that
Teresa's the same.
oh, sorry.
I was going to say the imposter syndrome is a real thing, and I don't know if Teresa's the same, but you're writing, you're putting your heart into something, it kind of sounds okay to yourself, obviously, but there's that hesitation, have we missed the mark? Is it, are people going to read it and go, I don't know, it's just,
Yeah. Well, when I
yeah,
contacted
that kind of
TEYLT,
sort of I've still got the lack of self-confidence, the
No,
teenage.
it's really good. It's really good. Trust me and trust
Yeah.
us. We are specialists in didactics and we teach how to teach. And this is a very good piece for us to have at hand and to analyze the activities, not just to put them into practice. From the didactics perspective, we can see the background of the 21st century skills are there all across. This idea of communication, critical thinking, collaborative work. It works, and you've put everything together. Even if you haven't thought of this, I tell you, trust me.
Yeah. And when I
It's true.
contacted Delta, I remember I said, well, I've got the reviewer, she's based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And so she needs to start reading the material, the title. And so we know that, that it takes very long for physical copies to arrive. I mean, the post system is quite slow here. So I said, it's going to take like 3-4 weeks for the physical book to arrive. And so I said, okay, if you could send us a digital copy along the way. And they immediately shared one with us. And one day I just opened WhatsApp and I see Deborah holding the book, the physical book, and she was so excited about it. She says, I feel I am the queen. And
It was amazing.
the words she used. Yeah. She was really, you were really overwhelmed and very emotional about it. She's very passionate about didactics. Yeah. And yeah.
No, but I really liked that. And let's be honest and let's face it, we are book lovers. And to have a physical book is not the same as having any digital. I don't imagine a 16-year-old that maybe they prefer digital versions. I love paper.
Yes.
And
to smell paper.
To smell, to
join me in
touch
this
it.
room.
It's yes.
It's true, but I really enjoyed reading it, and I really want to congratulate you for this work because it was amazing.
Very well.
And I hope everyone can enjoy it and take the most of it. So let's start promoting it and see how it works for the world.
Yes, yes.
But it's very kind of you. And also Sandy got married this weekend, so it's nice to add some extra congratulations in there and say
for Sandy as well.
Yeah.
Our editor. Yeah.
Yeah, the review is coming out in our Teaching English to Young Learners and Teens Worldwide publication for the YLTSIG. So we can't thank you enough for this, for dedicating this afternoon for you, midday for us.
Yeah, it's after it's 5 something, 5, just after 5, yeah. Gosh, I hope we actually meet you in Edinburgh as well. I've met Romina before. I'm not sure where, but we've met somewhere. Yeah. Probably in Brighton.
Probably. Belfast. Yeah. Right.
I will try to meet you someday somehow. I will do my best.
Teresa,
thank you for your time.
Seville in November, so
let's see.
We'll do something to send to you.
It would be great. But thank you very much for your time and for your kindness, and anything you need, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting us both. It's been wonderful to chat.
Yeah, as I say, thank you for your kindness, because it's quite humbling actually to hear your opinion of the book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give us a clap. Congrats.
Yes. Thank you very much. So it was a real pleasure. And I know that teaching teenagers, unlocking potential in the young adult classroom is already a success. Yes. So I know that I am so willing to put your activities, and buying them and probably adjusting and adapting them to the needs of our students. So I'm really, really looking forward to putting it into practice and then sharing with you. I will share feedback with you.
Oh, I'd love to hear. Yes.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.